show called Java with Jeff every morning, and I really created this segment in my sandbox, my Substack, to be an extension of that show because that show is a sort of private audience. And the things we talk about, mindsets that are necessary for growth, they're not specific to that audience. They apply to everybody. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about these things. Let's extend the conversation. Interesting. Doing some landscaping there in the middle of January. Okay, Andy Warhol, the Ark, and the Titanic. Bring those three things up, those three names up, I guess. Because last night, as I was doom scrolling in the midst of learning about what had happened in Minneapolis, I got home kind of late. For those of you that, hi Mark, if you don't know me or what I do, another of the 1,000 things that I do is I do public address announcing for sports. So I was doing a basketball game last night. I got home, I was tired. It was kind of a crazy long game and bizarre game. I was kind of tired. And so I sat down on the couch and opened up Instagram and saw the horrors of what happened in Minneapolis. And just scrolled and scrolled. And I came across a couple of posts that weren't related to that in those actions in Minneapolis, the murder in Minneapolis. And so they were helpful. They were interesting, caught my attention. They were a little bit refreshing in the midst of all of that. And one of those posts had a great hook. It said, the Ark was built by amateurs and the Titanic was built by professionals. Think about that for a minute. I've got some questions. It's not the perfect analogy, but it's certainly a great hook. Morning. And the creator went on to talk about it. It was really a post about taking imperfect action. Whether we're stuck or not, what do you need in order to grow? You need to take action. You need action over and over and over. That starts to make you comfortable. That starts to build momentum. That starts to drive change, because change creates growth. There is no way to get to the point of growth without embracing discomfort. There is no way to get to the point of growth, to grow without change. By definition, growth is not staying the same. So this idea of, the point of the creator, that particular creator, talking about the Ark versus the Titanic, obviously they're referencing the legend of Noah building this Ark. I think, if I remember the story correctly, with his hands, basically, with his sons, and building this big wooden boat that I guess saved humanity and all animals from the Great Flood, as the story goes, right? And then the Titanic, engineered, certified, et cetera, runs into an iceberg and sinks. And everybody on board is lost. Those are the differences. And then he ties that to taking imperfect action. And he talks about the fact that imperfect action comes from passion. It comes from the fire. It comes from and as I talk about growth, I say you have to get curious enough to wonder, You have to just develop a belief that, hey, maybe this could do something. Right? That's where imperfect action comes from. It comes from the belief that, hey, maybe if I start walking, doing a live stream on my walk to the coffee shop, maybe this will do something. Maybe this will have an impact. Maybe this will change something. So this creator is advocating for that, right? And I think it's so true. In our day-to-days, as you sit at your desk and you procrastinate or you worry about, you're afraid of all of the things, the only way you get past any of those things is to start. It's to start working. It's to start sketching. It's to start writing. It's to start singing. It's to start playing. It's to start painting. Whatever creation, whatever action means for you. And that leads to the other post. It's a quote from Andy Warhol. And it goes something like, "Dear artists, what's the word he uses? The solution or the antidote to depression is not joy, or the opposite of depression is not joy. It's expression. Would be the opposite of the antidote, I guess. It's expression." So he says, create, create, create. Create. Creation is what we need. He calls it the medicine for the soul. Creation, to create, is the medicine for the soul. I think it's really refreshing. It reminds me of another quote, and I don't remember who it is attributed to, and as usual, I'll butcher the quote, but it's either action is the antidote to anxiety or creation is the antidote to anxiety. How many times have you been anxious about something? How many times have you had anxiety, been troubled by something, and maybe looking back, you realize that the way out of that was getting up and taking a walk. It was writing your thoughts down. It was journaling. It was somehow getting whatever is inside of you out. Maybe the taking the walk is not the right example for us in this conversation right now, but it's somehow getting whatever is inside of you out. It's creating, expelling, creation through expulsion. How's that for a concept? In this day and age, I think it's so easy. Yesterday, I talked a lot about a conversation that I'd had the night before. So I don't know, this is Thursday, right? So Wednesday, so Tuesday night, I had this conversation and somebody, the person I was talking to was lamenting. Basically, they wanted change. I'll sum it up in just a couple sentences. They wanted change. They wanted growth. And ultimately, they have not, to this point, been willing to take action. They've not been willing to create. And one of the things they mentioned was they want to get off of their phone. And this is a younger person. This conversation's with a younger person, and I know they spend a lot of time scrolling on TikTok. Pretty common. I rarely look at TikTok anymore. Haven't posted anything on TikTok in a long time. But I get it, right? Got one of the most addictive algorithms by design. I spend a lot of time on Instagram, right? And they're basically saying that they need to find the power. They need to find the ability to stop doing that. I don't really have an answer for that for them, other than they have to do, right? Every time the way I would think about it, the way I would try to go about it for myself would be every time I want to pick up or I think about picking up the phone and going to TikTok, I would, what's an alternative? What's an alternative to that has me doing something? Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's walk to the kitchen and get a glass of water. Maybe it's taking a walk. Maybe it's sketching something. Maybe it's drawing something. Whatever the things are. But ultimately, we have to make the decision that we're going to do something. And this person is not at that point yet. They're not doing that for themselves. And therein lies the struggle. Right? Got a couple of things I want to send them. And one of them might be that Andy Warhol quote or some version of it. Right? The antidote, if that was the way he said it, antidote to depression is expression. How can you pick this up? How can you get out of the state that you're in right now? Right? When we think about growth, most of us, I think, when we set growth goals or we have these aspirations about growth or something like that, or any of us, really. I mean, I guess, again, it's by definition, it's going from here to there. It's getting from here to there. It's changing from being in this state to another state that we deem as growth. Whether that's growth for ourselves, personal growth or growth of or in relationships or professional growth. It's a business owner, an employee, whatever that looks like for you. How do I get from here to there? There's no, when I was a kid, Star Trek was on TV. James T. Kirk, William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy. Right? They had the transporter room that would transport them from the Enterprise to wherever it was that they needed to go. That's not how growth works. There is no transporter room. It takes us taking action. It takes us taking the steps towards wherever it is that we want to go. And that, going back to the Ark versus the Titanic, doesn't have to be perfect action. It doesn't have to be, straight as an arrow steps in that direction. Yesterday, I talked a lot about baby steps. Babies learn to walk. There's nothing straight about it. There's nothing straight about their learning curve. There's nothing straight about, seems kind of ironic, a straight curve. Nothing straight about their trajectory, literally or figuratively. But it's the fact that they keep doing it. They get up, they take a wobbly step, they fall backwards onto their butt. They pull up on something and they try it again. They try it again, they try it again. My son, when he was learning to walk, I don't think he ever walked. He just ran. One day he started running. I don't remember if it was that day or one day shortly after he started running. It was very much like babies learning to walk. It was unsteady, bobbly, weaving, running. One day he got up and he took off and ran face first into a wall. It's like some cartoon. Smacks face first into the wall and falls backwards. I don't remember now if he cried or anything. Probably didn't. But, he's big picture, he played college baseball, so he got back up, right? He figured it out. He kept going, kept running. It's actually a pretty decent runner, pretty decent speed for a catcher, but that's it, right? It was imperfect. The point from being able to pull himself up to playing college baseball was a winding road. A lot of stumbling, a lot of weaving, a lot of things, but all action. I will default to sports analogies all the time, right? Take him with playing baseball from a little guy all the way up to a big guy. And, the number of reps, whether it's in a game or it's in practice or, as he got older with his catching coach or his hitting coach or his strength coach or, any of those. Action, 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 trying. Doing. I used to take him before he could drive, and for a little while after that, before he got really independent about going to all of his coaching sessions. I remember taking him to the batting cages to work with his hitting coach. How many swings, how many cuts per coaching session does he ever take? It's a lot. The kid used to spend hours in batting cages day after day after day. How many hacks per trip to the cages did he take? No idea. A lot. How many of them were good ones? How many were good hits? Depends on the day, depends on the session. Depends on if he's working with the coach, depends on the drill that they're doing, etc. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You just have to keep hacking away. You just have to keep working. Yes, we want to improve our form. We want to improve the way that we go about it. All those things. Certainly, we want to grow, get better, but it doesn't come from thinking about it. It doesn't come from watching video. It doesn't come from all those things that we do. A lot of times we make these excuses. Oh, I'm studying this film. I'm watching this. I'm learning about this social media. I'm learning about this this strategy. I'm learning about that, and none of it matters until you actually try it. Until you actually put it into action. I do these strategy sessions. Morning. I do these strategy sessions with business owners, and I think that's part of the benefit of those sessions, right? You can talk about it, you can study it, you can research it, you can do all these things. Morning. And until you actually put it into practice, until you actually put it into action, it's meaningless, right? It gets you nowhere. Fills your head. Your head gets filled with all this information that you're not doing anything with, and it creates anxiety until you start letting it out. So remember, made it to the coffee shop now. Remember, according to this creator, the Titanic was built by professionals, and the Ark was built by amateurs. We need to stop worrying about. You need to stop worrying. We need to start taking an imperfect action. And according to Andy Warhol, create. Right? Expression is the antidote to depression. Thanks for walking with me. Thanks for joining, Mark. We'll be back tomorrow.